Okay, I'm recording. Okay, so after every mitigation, I expect a manipulation. Okay, the mitigation invites every other trader who believes they are smart money traders, who believes that once price touches an order block, it should begin to reject immediately, who believes that, okay, they have to be in the move immediately it begins. But then it's not how it's done, because everybody who jumps in here for a buy becomes the first buyers. The first buyers are always liquidity. Okay, the moment you get in here, you have an 80% chance of being liquidated. So you're among the liquidity. All right. Now, the next thing I want to look out for, the only reason that will make me enter here with you guys or enter this area, the only thing that will make me enter this area is if price runs through this and breaks. Let me change the color of this thing. Maybe something a bit more bolder. Okay. So the only thing that'll make me interested in this move is if after the mitigation, I have a clear shift in market structure. So price breaks this low, right? Breaks this low before giving me this move. Then I will be willing to sell. Okay, but then I don't have a shift in market structure. This area is still very much alive. Okay, if this area is still very much alive, it means that demand order flow is still in play. Okay, it means that demand order flow is still very much in play. So if demand order flow is still in play, why am I looking for a sell until I see a violation of demand order flow? So I need to be in an area that gives me enough confidence to believe that demand has failed and then supply is now in charge of the game. So I'm not interested in this first mitigation of the area of interest. A mitigation to my area of interest only calls my attention to now begin to look for the price action that will deliver or that will express itself, or how price will express itself inside of that area of interest. It is the area of interest that now calls my attention to how price will express itself inside or around my area of interest. So I want to see a clear change or shift in market structure before I am willing to now begin to deal at my proposed area of interest. Just like I told you guys, supply and demand are areas of what? What are supply and demand? Areas of what? Nobody's answering me. Wow. Supply and demand are areas of negotiation. They are areas of negotiation. The only thing the big buyers and big sellers are doing, they are negotiating. Okay, they want to see where they are willing to take price to next from that point. And then I want them to make up their mind from their negotiation. Then I ride with their footprints. Okay, don't forget, we are trying to trade their footprints. So if you are trading my footprints, it means I have to make a step before you make a step. True or false? Okay, a certain story my mentor used to explain following the footprints of market makers to me some years ago. He said on a very good day, on a very rainy evening, he got back home and discovered that his burglary probe was broken. He got into his house and his TV set was missing, and his audio set was missing. Some amount of money was also missing, and it was raining heavily. Okay. At dawn, he woke up and looked through his window and saw footsteps because it was raining, so the ground was muddy. So he saw footsteps that led from his window towards the fence. He followed the footsteps from his window, and then he jumped over the fence and saw the same footsteps leading into the house of his neighbor. What does that explain? What will be the next thing that comes to your mind? Who stole the TV sets? Exactly. Why was he able to know that this is what had happened? Because they were what? Obvious footsteps.
Footprints.
If there were no footprints and he wakes up the next day and walks to his neighbor's door and hits the door open and say, you stole my TV set, what do you think the case would be? It would be considered as a forceful accusation, and then and then we could look for something to charge you for defamation of character or something. But then that is why when you trade as a smart money trader, you need to understand the logic. You need to be able to think how they are thinking. Okay, you need to be able to see price how they see price. If everybody who trades smart money around the world is seeing a sell, I bet you 80% of the time that particular sell becomes liquidity. Once market makers have observed that all of you guys have loaded your positions together with them at that point, they give you an impression they're going to sell. They come back and manipulate, wipe you out, and then continue your direction. Okay, because you need to think like them. We are the liquidity when it comes to smart money. All retail traders are liquidity. Perry, I don't know what you're trying to draw on my screen until I bite your hand. Okay, so the retail traders like us obviously becomes a liquidity on things like this. Okay, so you should be concerned about with what are they thinking? Where do they want to go from here? Where do we have traders resting their orders? Don't forget, the only way we can have liquidity enter the market is through orders, buy orders, sell orders, stop loss, take profit, all of those things, especially orders, right? So if I am a market maker, or I am the composite man, or I am the big bank, the first question I should be asking is, where are the orders? By default, every other person who trades smart money around the world will see this as a what? Break of structure. And after a break of structure, return to what? Supply. And when we get to supply, price should drop. When we get to supply, price should drop. I'm teaching a class, I'll call you back shortly. Okay, when we get to supply, price should drop. That's what they were taught. That price gets to supply and drop. Price gets to demand and pumps. Okay, so everybody gets to this level and they are rushing in already with the concept of supply is where sales happen, demand is where buys happen, forgetting that supply and demand are points of negotiation. And because of that perspective they have, they've taken away the actual logic that we are trading footprints. Okay, now we say do not predict the market, react to the market. Okay, but so to a level, we should be able to understand these minor predictions. I can be able to tell you with all confidence that if you jump, what is skill? What is skill? Writing on my screen again. Okay, I should be able to tell you without a fear of favor that if you jump in on this move early enough, you'll be taken out with the liquidity. You'll be taken out with the liquidity. Okay, and then I'll be very certain when I say it, because I've seen it happen over and on. I've seen it happen oftentimes. Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
I know she's holding on.
All right. Okay, so if you jump in on the first move, obviously you're not seeing any footprints, so you're creating a footprint for yourself. Okay, so everybody that comes in here at the first instance, mitigation of an area of interest, obviously the area of interest is supposed to have some kind of potency. 70% of the time they will give you a reaction at the area of interest to make some other guys who did not jump in at this point, some other guys who did not jump in at this point, they want to create this point for you guys. Okay, they'll not create this point for you guys who did not jump in at this point. Now, because of the what is it called? Because of the momentum that price used to escape off this region and dropped, you would not want to feel left out of the move. So what happens? FOMO steps in. FOMO steps in, and then you jump in here with the guys. Don't forget, the other minor move upward that created your entry still failed to break its own structure. Okay, the guys who are here from the Signal group, I'm sharing serious value for free. Some of you guys who are new here, or a restaurant, and the rest of you guys, you may not be able to understand what I'm talking about, except you've seen the videos already, but then just flow with us. Probably in the later date when you watch this, it will make sense to you. Give me a minute, guys. I'm trying to do something. Just give me a minute. Give me a minute. All right. All right. So the guys who jumped in here after seeing this move may want to get a re-entry here. So they are stacking entries, they are placing sell positions, expecting price to react to this level, and then with the amazing risk to reward and very pretty take profits, they're expecting to see price move. But forgetting that the market makers, if they are willing to have escaped this zone with this momentum, the first thing they would do is to grab liquidity off this level. Okay, so break this low. This is where they will get momentum from to move upward and then dump. Okay, without doing that, demand is still very much in charge. Your area of interest, and then you who had gotten early entries, like they call it at that point, it's just liquidity. Okay, and then except you have your stop loss above this region. This meeting ends in 10 minutes. Wow. So 45 minutes don't pass, 40 minutes don't reach. No. This is serious. So except you have your stop loss above this region, you'll get stopped out with the rest of the bets. 18 pips, 18.9 pips. You'll get stopped out with the rest of the bets. Okay, why? Because there's no actual display that level is willing to sponsor any sort of move. Okay, but now look at what happened here. The moment we grabbed liquidity from these highs, okay, and then look at the week up here. Give me a minute. Let me pull this a bit. Okay, so this straight line here, this dotted line, is the liquidity I actually drew from the edge far left, expecting price to tap in before we drop. Okay, so price reached through that liquidity, which was enough, very much enough for what I wanted. And then what did it do next? What did it do next? There's a fine shift of what? Structure. Very, very pretty shift in structure. Okay, so most times when I trade, sometimes I can use to work with the full zone because it contains both this and this. Other times I can use to just work with this guy on the left, which is my QM. Okay, so this guy on the left is my actual QM. If I want to mitigate, most times I have two entries. I have two entries on my trade. So I can have this guy here as my main position where I have bulk of orders resting. And then I also have this zone. So I have one entry that starts from this zone and covers to the end of this one. And I have the other entry on the exact POI, the exact area of what's it called, RTO, where price will be reacting from. Okay, so this is a 2.6 pip move, but the overall move for the main entry from here should be about 4.7 or 4.8 pips. Okay, 5 pips, exactly 5 pips. Okay, as opposed to having a 16 or an 18 pip stop loss. Okay, so now I have clear intent that price is willing to move my direction. What is the footprint of the market maker? Totally violates the bullish order flow. Totally violates the structure that still kept demand in power. Okay, so once we broke below this, grab liquidity, broke structure, return to ultimate trade entry, we are willing to move. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when price gets to your trade and your area of interest or your point of interest, until price gives you a shift in market structure and your return to optimal trade entry on your lower time frame. For me, I work with my 1 minute and 30 seconds, depending on where I get the best of my setups. Now, look at the momentum we now actually use to drop off that zone. That is because after this has happened, the market makers do not want to give you a chance to join in on their party. So if you don't see their footprint initially, until they create a new footprint for you, they don't want you in their party. You're not a big boy. You're not. How much are you trading? Your $500 account or $1,000 account or $5,000 account, or you know how many $1 million it takes to move price by one pip? Okay, so you are irrelevant in the soup they are preparing. So they don't even need you in the movements. They only need to grab liquidity from you and then continue their party. Okay, so all they need you for is liquidity. So you must be smart enough as a smart money trader to be involved in their party. That's why you need to see their footprints before you jump in. So if you don't get their footprints and you jump in, you become the liquidity. Okay, that's why the slogan says you either see the liquidity or be the liquidity. If you fail to see the liquidity, you automatically become the liquidity. This was supposed to be basically about psychology, not about entry, but I don't know why I'm talking about entry, so I'll just flow with that energy. Okay, so try as much as you can. When you get, set an alert, subscribe to TradingView, set an alert on your area of interest. When you get there, if you're in your seat, sit patiently to wait for a confirmation. The confirmation is to see that price has actually shifted minor structure and then reacting off your optimum trade entry before you are willing to engage. It will save you from many stop losses. It will save you many irrelevant stop losses. And at the moment, you should have a set of pairs that you work with. Okay, on the Signal group, for those guys on the Signal group, I'll be giving lots of pairs because they are random stuffs. Very quite, though very healthy RR. But then I don't trade those random stuffs. I trade Euro, USD, GBP, USD. That's what I trade. Okay, and then I'm seeing some very amazing setup on. I don't know if I'll be able to share that before this meeting ends. One setup that may be a 1 to 200 scenario. I don't know if I'll be able to share that before this meeting ends on a AUD card. So probably I'll just try to share it before it ends. So we have 4 minutes more to go. Let me send a new link. I'm sending a new link to the group WhatsApp so we can continue. I would not want to get cut short in course of explaining stuff. So I'll just send a new link at once. We good? All right, guys, I'm sending a new link now. Curtis, can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
All right, thank you. So I'm sending a new link to the group right now, so you can join in.